I didn't do enough. I played well enough for us to win, and that's it.
So, Sal, are you disappointed in my guy? Now, I've adopted him. My guy, Baker Mayfield, in this loss to the Jets.
I am disappointed in him, but you know me and you know how I feel about Baker Mayfield. This was right on time for Baker Mayfield. This was appointed to Baker Mayfield because this is who Baker Mayfield is to me. And my experience is my expertise, so you ain't gonna come up here and eye roll me. Here's the thing about it. This was your moment of truth. Be real about this. Let's not argue about the fact that Baker Mayfield had an opportunity to prove, to finally get over the hump for this franchise who was sitting there and looking at a situation that they were poised to attack. You were playing the New York Jets, and you're the Cleveland Browns, who all you need to do is win this game, and you're in the playoffs. And what happens? Obviously, we know they're missing 2 offensive linemen. Then you're missing your top 4 receivers.
Of course.
So now, if you're an offensive coordinator, my former teammate, Alex Van Pelt, he's thinking we got to put it on Baker Mayfield's shoulders. You know what? They did. You know why? Because he had 53 pass attempts on Sunday, a career high. When the running game was shut down, you had injuries. They looked around, they said, hey, remember you? Wanted that 5th-year option. This is one way we could get this done. If you go on and win this game and get us over the hump. And what did Baker Mayfield do in this situation? Play adequate, was losing, and then had 3 fumbles. I ain't tripping on your fumbles. You know what I'm tripping on, Nacho? That you had 2 fumbles in the last 2 drives when everything was on the line against, once again, the New York Jets. So if this guy, Baker Mayfield, is supposed to be a franchise quarterback, when are you going to be the reason the franchise wins? Yesterday was the perfect opportunity. He had enough. He even said this in his one answer to the media and dipped. Once again, I talk about that mental makeup. Baker Mayfield doesn't like the heat unless he's the one in the kitchen turning it up. He can't stand it if somebody else got their hand on the thermostat. Baker Mayfield in this moment put a nail in the coffin. Now, if they don't get a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's going to be the one with the hammer in his hand, and he's going to be the one that nails his own coffin.
Sal, your take is so far off, I have to push back on so many things. Yeah, I'm not at all disappointed in Baker. I'm not at all disappointed in Baker because it wasn't Baker's fault. Marcellus, what do I mean? If you have 4 wide receivers out, if you have your starting left tackle out, first-round pick, you got your starting right guard out, top-tier player, arguably the best right guard in the game. Marcellus, you got all them dudes out. Why are you going to pass the ball 53 times? That doesn't make sense to me. Marcellus, you got all 4 of your wide receivers out. Why are you going to throw the ball the highest percentage of the time you have all season long? Particularly if you got 2 of the best running backs in the game. So I had to re-watch the game last night.
You lying.
After the last night.
You that bored?
No, I had to have a strong Baker take because I know you. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched the first quarter.
Now we talking.
I watched the first quarter. I rewatched the first quarter. NFL Game Pass. Shout out. And I saw this. Wait a second. Did y'all run the ball 4 times in the whole first quarter? Come on, Marcellus. You got Kareem Hunt. You got Nick Chubb. And you only ran the ball 4 times with the best running game in the whole first quarter. In the first 3 plays, you went 3 and out, pass, pass, pass. I'm not blaming Baker Mayfield for that. Let me put this in context for y'all. Let's pull up the full screen by the book because I want y'all to understand just how ludicrous of a game Kevin Stefanski and the offensive staff called. Now, through week 15, Marcellus on the left, they passed the ball less than 50% of the time. But yesterday against the Jets, you passed the ball 76% of the time. Look at the last numbers, though. You run the ball 7 times on average through week 15 in the first quarter. But then yesterday, you only ran the ball 4 times. So make that make sense. It doesn't make sense. I can tell you how it does not make sense and why it does not make sense. Finally, Kevin Stefanski, he showed his flaws. He showed his errors. Finally, Kevin Stefanski got ahead of himself. I'm going to ask you this one question, Marcellus.
Oh, really? Now you're going to ask me a question.
If I were to say this, the Browns don't have their starting 4 receivers, okay? They attempted one thing 18 times, and they attempted another thing 53 times.
So far, no question.
Either rushing, they attempted one thing 18 times, one thing 53 times.
Yeah.
Would you say that they attempted passing the ball 53 times or running the ball 18 times. Like, if you came down and I said, hey, they got the best running game, they have no receivers, but they did one thing 18 times and another thing 53 times, what would you tell me?
Oh, there's the question. I was waiting for it.
That's the story. I didn't know if you watched the game or not.
I didn't watch it twice. I mean, 1 1/4. I mean, whatever the hell you did. Did you watch it at all?
Can you answer the question? Can you answer the question?
Yeah, I will answer the question. And it will take forever like you did in answering the question. Or even asking. When you have injuries up front, as you mentioned, and you know that you're compromised at the receiver position, and then you say we have 2 of the best running backs, you say feed them, but you know that the injuries up front will undermine you feeding them. But how many yards did they have combined, the 2 running backs?
No, you're not going to ask me a question before you answer my question.
For 39 yards.
You're not going to ask me a question before you answer my question.
Hey,
I want my answer.
You should have had greater balance, but guess what? They thought that they had a franchise quarterback. They listened to Acho. It didn't work. Baker Mayfield had them believing the hype that he could carry the game. He could carry the team. I don't know why they believe that hype. What is Baker Mayfield's record when he throws more than 40 times in the game? You know what that is, Acho? 1 9.
Big dog. Aaron Rodgers only passed the ball 25 times yesterday, and he's a franchise quarterback.
Because he couldn't walk.
It's not a matter of,
in the snow.
We got a franchise quarterback, so let's go out there and throw the ball 53 times. You're going to put this on everybody but the quarterback. No, all I'm going to say is this. Only 12 times all season has a team thrown the ball 50-plus times. 12 times all season. And it's not like the Browns were getting blown out. It's not like Dak Prescott's Cowboys versus the Browns. You're down by 21 at halftime, and the Browns have a potent offense. Jets don't have a potent offense. You could have stuck to the running game like you always do.
It wasn't working. 18 carries, 39 yards combined.
You know what it is, bro. Combined. You know, early on, the running game does not work, but it's like a leaky.
I don't know that.
It's like a leaky roof.
I don't know that.
It's like a leaky roof. Early on, that 1 drop, it ain't gonna do nothing. That 2 drops ain't gonna do nothing. But eventually, you look up and you got the whole ceiling done caved in because you kept getting those drops. You keep running the ball. Eventually, the whole ceiling of the Jets would have caved in. Well, let me bring in somebody with a slightly better opinion than hopefully Marcellus's. That's Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. Yeah, Bucky, what it do? Are you disappointed in Baker, after the Browns lost to the Jets?
Absolutely, because I've been on here for weeks and I've heard you pull up. I've seen you pull up full screens and stats and sound bites and Baker's this and we need to get him going and you need to apologize to Baker because he's a franchise quarterback. So now in the most important game of the season, the Browns need to have this. It's must-have-it time. Kevin Stefanski says, you know what I'm going to do? I've been listening to Emmanuel Acho. Emmanuel Acho has convinced me that Baker Mayfield is the best player on my team. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give the ball to my best player, and I'm going to say, Baker, go do it. Go win us the game.
Get it.
You have this. You are a franchise quarterback, former #1 overall pick. All you got to do is knock off the lowly Jets, the 1-win Jets prior to that game. Just go knock off the Jets, and we go to the playoffs, and it's all lollipops and gumdrops in Cleveland. But now we see when we give Baker that responsibility, he can't handle it. And now you're advocating, why don't we run the ball? Why don't we give it to Nick Chubb? Why don't we give it to Kareem Hunt? We don't have any wideouts. What are we doing? No. You're the franchise quarterback. Make it right. That's what we expect from our guys. Because I've heard you say the same things about Cam and everyone else. Make it right. I need Baker to make it right. I don't care who he's throwing to. Make it right.
What y'all are saying is just so ignorant. He ain't got nothing. He got nothing. He ain't got nothing, Marcellus. Watch him out.
Good job,
What y'all are saying, it is so ignorant and makes absolutely no sense. Baker Mayfield was handicapped from the wide receiver position. Yet, the head coach asked Baker Mayfield to do the one thing in which he was handicapped from doing that game. The head coach didn't say, hey, Baker, I know you ain't got no wideouts. Let's go run the ball. It wasn't until the 3-minute mark, Bucky Brooks, in the first quarter that Baker attempted a pass to a wide receiver. Why? Because 90+% of the game was played with 2 or more tight ends on the field. Browns ain't done that the majority of the season, but they had tight ends lined up at wide receiver. So we come on the show every day, and we got to read these teleprompters. For those of y'all sitting at home, y'all don't understand, like, when we're talking about and reading something or going to commercial, we're reading a prompter. Marcellus, if I had contacts to read the prompter and I showed up one day without my contacts and I couldn't read,